What good is the freedom of religion if we're not living out our faith? I want to know how we got it. I want to know how you preserve it. Divorce, out of wedlock births, everything went through the roof. Why do you think we call the last century the Great American Century? The reason in America that you and I have equal protection for all is because it comes from a higher source. It doesn't come from our neighbor. As George Washington put it, religion and morality are indispensable supports of political prosperity. It truly is the basis of who we are, the whole idea that America really is one nation under God. If you want an example of how unique you are as an American, of how special this value system is, think of this one fact. We're the only people on the face of the planet in the history of the entire world to have a technological advantage in war and choose not to use it for conquest. Why would we do that? Something's different about us. Something's unique about being an American. If the founders didn't want prayer in public school, why didn't they take it out? Why was it okay for 175 years, but then suddenly when the Warren Court comes along in '62, suddenly it's a bad idea? Your perception of history is going to drive your public policy. How you perceive what happened in the founding of this country is going to have a dramatic impact on the kind of decisions that a judge hands down, or how a legislator votes, or the way that you may go vote in terms of what your values are going to be when you vote in that booth. And if you believe that the founding fathers didn't want Christian principles in our society, then you might vote for a candidate that says, I'm going to leave my religion at home. I promise not to let it interfere with my policy. What we're talking about here is saving the frame around the picture of our American way of life so that we can go out there for Christ and minister to the world. You know, 85% of the missions around the world comes from this country right here. Folks, if we lose the frame, you're going to lose your picture with it. Your way of life, your family, your children, your community, this church, your religious liberties, all of that. We've got to preserve the frame around the picture. But what about the 95%? The 95% that started the American Tract Society, the American Sunday School Union, all these organizations. Why do we not define the founding fathers by the 95% instead of allowing folks to define them by just the 5%? Here's what we got to realize as Christians. Every student on every campus in this country that gets that philosophy of a godless constitution, keep religion out of this political process and out of civil government, every one of those students is going to impact you. Yes, we want to inculcate these ideas. That's what the melting pot's all about. That's why we have an education system, is so that our young people can come through that system and learn what it means to be an American. That they can learn what liberty is all about and what justice is all about and indivisibility. That they can understand that their freedom comes from God, not government, and it must be exercised with respect for the authority of God. Well, our Captain Parker, he walked up and down that line of 77 and he said this. He said, don't fire unless fired upon. But if they mean to have war, let it begin here. Then that shot heard round the world was fired. And your freedom and my freedom began that day. They were smart enough to take that torch that they lit and pass it to the next generation. And generations of Americans have been willing to do whatever it took to preserve that freedom. Now it's our turn. This is the hour that you and I must stand guard at the watchtower of freedom. If that freedom is going to survive for another generation, it's got to begin right here. There is something different about who you are as an American.